Welcome, Booty. We are extremely honored to have you amongst
The
us.
honor's all mine, guys. Thanks for having me.
No. And we are overflowing with excitement and enthusiasm for this podcast for many reasons. One, because you are a musician. Two, because you speak English as if it's your first language. Three, because you are very enthusiastic about Angelina Jordan, and you
A little
really, this big. And it's one thing to be enthusiastic, but in addition to that, you really get her.
Yeah.
I think we all do. I honestly, genuinely think we all do. Like,
All three of us do.
But I know some reactors, when they start reacting to her, it takes a little while for her to get under their skins.
yeah.
I mean, you can see it in their third or fourth reaction that, oh, that was the moment when she really broke them.
But that's good. The power of the break, right?
And I know we had one guest, when he first saw her, his first reaction was, I think he listened to her voice for like 5 or 6 seconds. And he paused and said, this is crazy. And he just started talking, and it was making sense. And so it's very different how we connect to that experience.
It's perception. It's because we're always thinking while we're watching something. We're always thinking when we're listening to something. So it's really the mindset you're in to begin with that'll affect how you're going to interpret the audio, the video, whatever it is that you're watching. So I think that plays a very important role in how you are able to actually experience the music.
I know he said that whenever he was doing reactions, he didn't know what he was saying. When he edited the reaction, he said, oh, did I say that? I had no idea. So he wasn't thinking when he was talking. He was just talking from his heart.
It just comes out. Everyone has a process. I'd be happy to talk about it with you guys. But my secret agenda for this is I don't read anything online. I don't do any research. I don't look at anything. The only things I know about Angelina are from what you guys tell me, what the community tells me, what I see on the comments, what I see on Patreon. Besides that, I know nothing. And I have many questions.
No.
Many questions. It's like my way of cheating and getting an education on Angelina. I have so many things to ask you, and I guess we'll get through them as we do this.
Pontus and I would both like to congratulate you on the retrospective that you put out in the last day or 2 or 3.
Loved
Thank
it.
you.
What struck us so very much, and which to us was the greatest strength of that retrospective, was your excitement and your enthusiasm. The whole 10 minutes without interruption was at extremely high level, and that excitement is contagious and infectious to the
You guys are
listener.
giving me goosebumps, man.
Every note, dripping with raw emotion, tells a story. This isn't an ordinary talent. This is a vocal prodigy from Norway, painting stories with her voice. This is Angelina Jordan.
I have to be very honest with you. I wasn't here, I was traveling, and I talked to Ramsey, and I'm like, listen, how about we start doing retrospectives? Like this really cool thing where we look at a style of music, a genre, an artist, a song, an album, and just do a small little like ode to that genre, style, or whatever it is. And he got really excited. He's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, all right, let's just start with this. So I started just putting down bullet points, and I can't do research because I don't want spoilers for anything. So it's like, go to comments, go to conversations, and that's how I'm like started to put down bullet points and everything. So I did Angelina, I did El Divo, and I did Dimash. So those are the 3 ones that were there. And then we're like, all right, let's just start with Angelina. So as soon as I came back to Beirut, let's go to the studio, and I sit there and have my bullet points, and I'm like, click record, and let's just see what happens, right? And we record it, and it took Ramsey a while to edit. He did a lot of the soundscape. He did a lot of work on that. So it took him, I think, 10 days, 2 weeks to actually go through the entire thing. And he showed me the first thing, and it felt like I was going to school and it was an exam. And okay, now we actually did it. Now we have to post it. And then we posted it on YouTube, and then he edited it 8 times because it got blocked every single time it got blocked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we were using like maybe 15, 16 tracks. And YouTube was like, no, you're not going to do this. So then we'd use 14 tracks, 12. I think we ended up using maybe just 4 or 5 tracks at the end and little bits of things. But when we posted it, guys, I was shitting myself. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to do here because I'm so scared. I'm anxious. I'm like, what's gonna happen? And it was just like reading people's comments to this morning, last night. I'm like, oh my god, like this feels great. Like, I'm really happy we did this, and we didn't ruin it. We didn't do a bad thing. We did an okay thing, so we're happy with it.
So, Booty, will you do a part 2 for Angelina Jordan?
Yeah. So this was the first. This video's intention is introducing people to Angelina Jordan in a way that isn't a reaction video. Because what I see is that people are actually getting introduced to Angelina through reaction videos. I'll see comments or, oh, you're like the 5th reactor I see that does this. Oh, you're the... So there's that sort of excitement happening along, but there's no... Here's why there's a ridiculously insane fan base behind this young girl. There's a reason why. Yeah. So here's just a little thing that can maybe show you why you need to bring her in. Why you need to just give it a listen to a few tracks, watch these videos. And I guess that's what happens. So this will be that. We'll need to do something that is maybe when... just targeting maybe originals or like a part 2. I still need to think about exactly how it is. I'm thinking out loud, obviously, but I can obviously see part 2 and part 3 and part 4 and part 5.
Booty, please bounce off any ideas you have. Bounce it off Pontus and I, and we can give you some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
As deep as you may be down the rabbit hole,
you guys know I don't know the stuff. You guys know the stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm flying blind. I really don't know the stuff is anywhere near what you guys know.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what type of questions you have, what type of things you want to know about, because I myself have been thinking a lot about if I ever got the chance to ask Angelina questions, what would I ask her? And that's a really tough one because it's almost like when TV people interview soccer players or something. It's like the questions are always the same. How do you feel? They can't get an answer that is intelligent and says something. So I'm struggling a bit.
There's so many questions that can be asked. So I'm going to ask you my questions.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different things. So the first one is regarding label. So when did she get signed exactly? And I see all this like the label's not pushing her. The label is pushing her. They built her recording studio. So there's a lot of mush there. But I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the reality of the situation is. So she did get signed by the label. And this was what, like a year ago?
2 years.
2 years ago.
November 2021.
Okay.
I'm not sure myself, but...
Alan is very confident.
Yeah, he's very confident. He's almost overconfident. Do you have any sources on that one?
He is the source. He is the source.
I just remember that because I think the Christmas concert was at Christmas 2021, and she was signed before that. It was either November 2021 or November 2020. But I think it was 2021.
Alan, isn't it true that Million Miles was the first single released through Republic Records?
Yeah. It could be distribution, though. If it was before, because there's the distribution element the publishing element, and then there's the actual...
Yeah, you're talking to two fellows who know nothing about the industry.
I'll give you the in a nutshell version of it that I know, but it's really very complicated. When you write a song... Let's say you're signed by a label. Labels can play different parts. Promotion is one of them. Publishing is another one. And then there's the actual recordings. If you sign with a label, let's take the example of Taylor Swift, because she took a big stand on this a few years ago. So all her records, the masters, which is the literal physical or digital recording, the WAV file that ended up at the end of the song, that's the master. That's what they call it. And the label owns the master. And then they split the publishing. So when it goes up on Spotify, Apple Music, when it gets sold, when it gets played at venues, all the money that comes from that, it gets split into like maybe 70-30, 70 the label, or 60-40, 60 the label. So that's usually the way that it works. Now, for the rest of time, whoever owns the master basically owns the rights to the music. And that's why Taylor Swift a few years ago re-recorded all of her tracks to create new masters. So she would own her music moving forward. So a label can basically record for you, and they'll own the masters. They can do the publishing thing. And then there's obviously the promotion. What a lot of labels do in this day and age is they'll sign someone, and they'll give them $20,000. And they'll be like, here's money. Go promote yourself. And you have an artist that wakes up every day, with anxiety all over. And what they try to do is they try to write music, go to a studio, record music, try and make a 6-track EP or something with the money they gave them. Then they have to create promotional content on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, and then go play live gigs. And for the most part, they're paying to actually get to these gigs and doing it. So they spend the 20,000, they don't hit any numbers. Label's like, oops, sorry, nothing's gonna happen. But you're still signed with us for 3 years, so they get stuck in that thing. What a label needs to do to really break through an artist is they're going to look at it and be like, you know what, we're going to put $5 million behind this artist because we believe they're going to be the next big thing. They're our next $1 billion artist. And they will go and they'll splash you all over Spotify. They will put you on curated playlists. They will talk to every radio station. They will book big venues for you to go perform in as a side act or a main act. And they'll keep doing that for a year, and boom, you grow your audience and it gets there. So it's very complicated. A lot of it is related to how much the label wants to spend, but at the same time, how much the artist wants to do. And in the case of Angelina, there's definitely that bubble, that protective bubble around her, probably from family that is not pushing her out there, exposing her. We don't know, obviously, what the arrangement is with the labels. Is it a $30,000 agreement? Is it $1 million agreement? Is it publishing and mastering? And
we know that she is the label's top priority artist. And people have referenced that and saying, if you're a top priority artist, why aren't they doing promotion? It's like a bit of a mystery. But my take on it is that they have some kind of agreement when she turns 18 that has to happen before they do the big promotion thing. I don't know if that's some kind of a law or
No, it's not a law. It's not a law. So like Justin Bieber is the biggest case we can take, right? He was like 12 or 13, I think, when he got started. So we don't know what it is. It's very contained, which is something to appreciate because usually things don't get contained. But I guess we'll get to see. We really will get to see. Every time I think about this, I always go back and wonder, you know what? For this artist to make it in this world, they're doing things very differently than what is required to break through in this world, right? And I don't know, and I think I said this in one of the videos, where I really don't know is she going to do like an identity shift, a different branding? And in the beginning, I was like, I really hope she doesn't. We love her. I love her because to me, she's like an old soul, right? She's coming down in this day and age, and it's something so spectacular to see. And there's a necessity for her to rebrand that old soul because who's the Angelina we fell in love with? Not the one that's singing these songs, her originals. It's the one that we saw on stage when she was 12 and 11 and doing those awesome renditions of songs. That's what we fell in love with. So the artist now has to break out and do different things to tailor to the modern audience. I saw this one comment and it was like, why are all her fans old?
Yeah.
So I saw that comment. I'm like, shit. Like, that's weird. And I think was it on your podcast? I think it was because you guys were talking about the show that she just did. So it was related to that show. Yeah. And when you see that and you're like, before I had reservations, please don't change. Now I'm like, no, change, go, build, break people, that do the thing that you need to do because those records that you already did are going to be there. They're not going anywhere. And if anything, at 30 when she does them on big main stages, holy mother, they're going to sound incredible when she actually does them along with her music. I talk a lot, by the way, so you can just tell me to shut up at any point in time and I will.
Alan will edit you out. Don't you worry.
Okay, awesome.
Bodil, let me interrupt you. Let me answer a question you just asked. Why are her fans old? And I think it's because old fans recognize quality in a way that 15 and 20-year-olds don't. Because we've been around the block and 15 and 20-year-olds are much, much more blowing in the wind of fashion this way and that. And they're not really tuned into that. The other thing, it's not enough to say her family are protective of her, but her family for the last 10 years have insisted on absolute control of every step of her career. And that must be a very intrinsic part of the contract with Republic Records. Okay. Because they had a chance 4 years ago to sign with Simon Cowell if she'd won America's Got, but they did not wish to touch that. Their priority was for her to have a normal childhood.
Go to school, get her education.
Yeah.
She's only 17. and she has plenty of time. She doesn't have to be world famous by the time she's 16. And I was fascinated by the strategic choices they made with the EP that have just come out, because she was true to her talent, she was true to her style, and yet she reached out to a younger audience. And that type of strategic choices she made, I was full of admiration. And also, if you look at some of the photos that she's taken photos with Monty Lipman, who's the CEO of Republic Records, and then also with Sir Lucian Grainge, who is the overall head of Universal Music. And so the big wigs are very proud and happy to be seen next to her, which a testament of saying, we know what we have here.
Yeah, so it's literally just a matter of time. So that's one point that it's gone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I know. So that's a good thing. I wanted to ask you about her last show, because I saw in the I actually watched what you guys did, your last podcast when you talked about it. You had a bunch of people on, and they were at the show, and they were so. I wanted to talk about the sound there, because I heard the sound wasn't the best. So what exactly was going on there? Were they not prepped? Was it maybe a production thing? Was it a sound check thing? Like, what have you guys heard on that being the cause of it?
I've heard both good things and bad things. I think it's a matter of the location itself maybe isn't the best to do that kind of a show. It's an old theater setup. And I heard somebody say the only other venue they've been to with a similar setup wasn't too good in quality when it comes to sound either. So maybe that has something to do with it.
So the band that was playing with her, have they played together before? Is this like a touring band they use? No, it was the first. Okay.
No. In fact, they were recent graduates of the Berklee School of Music. So they were relatively local from Boston. And I think they might have had one day to rehearse together. And also the acoustics of the hall. It's an old hall. I think it's 100 years old. So that also left something to be desired. But a lot of it depended upon where someone was sitting in the audience. But then there's also, and this is something Pontus and I were talking about, some people thought that the concert was compromised. Some people thought that although the sound was not so good, she was absolutely spectacular and she overrode the deficiencies of the band. But then also, some people say it didn't really matter. She carried
it doesn't. Yeah, no doubt that she carried it. It's nice to nitpick at things just because I guess we look for improvements. We don't want this thing to happen the next time around, so we like to complain. And whether it's the right person or not. But I get it. It's probably a mix of production. One day to rehearse is not enough for people just getting with each other first time. Yes, they're Berklee students, but they don't have 15 years of playing with each other. So that's going to be a deficit there. But one thing that I did see or read is that someone was doing like a solo for too long and they didn't appreciate that. But to me, when I read that, I'm like, but that you expect that from her. She shares the stage. She doesn't hog it. So that's perfectly natural for her to want something like that.
And I'm also connecting to something you talked with us earlier, that sometimes the record label gives you some money and you have to spend that wisely yourself. And because somebody said, why didn't they just flew over the band from Norway, for instance? And I thought to myself, that's pretty costly, isn't it? Much cheaper to hire somebody that is not that experienced to begin with and are very local. They were in the area. So I think that may be a thing that points to you're correct in assuming that the label has just given her some money and you do what you want with this.
The way that money in music works today is very different than what it was 3-4 years ago. Very different than what it was before Spotify. Before, artists used to make their money through selling CDs and vinyls. So book gigs to promote themselves and sell CDs right then and there. That's how they made money. Then when Spotify came along, it became, all right, Spotify is going to promote my music. And then when I go do shows, in those shows, ticket sales, that's where I'll make money. And if you look at ticket sale prices 15 years ago and today, it was, when would I ever go and pay $1,500 to go watch a band or an artist? $50, $100, $200. Now, if you want to go see an artist, $800, $500, $1,000, $15, $3,500 if you want to get in there. So it's shuffling back into that. But the reality is, and at least I know this from my friends, that what they do is they book gigs in like London. They'll book gigs in Berlin. They'll do things like that. They'll take small venues and they'll go, and it's a 500-600 person venue, and they'll go there. They're 5 people. They're buying their own tickets. They're flying their equipment with them. They're getting there. They have to rent the hotel. So now they need to book like 5-6 gigs in a row, at least just to break even. And if they don't fill up the venue, they're screwed. You know, they end up losing. And there's a promoter there that needs to make their money. And if they don't make the money, they'll never book them again. And the venue needs to make money, because if the venue doesn't make money, they'll never book them again. So imagine all that pressure. You have to manage your little budget. What really ends up happening is they just end up paying from pocket or barely breaking even. So by all means, they have to manage the limited budget that they have and work with what they have.
Well, I'm sure Angelina will not do a business management course. She's leaving that to the others, whether it be the record company or her uncle Michael. Angelina is the pure artiste, and that's the best arrangement. But Cream goes to the top, and she will go to the top.
I've also heard people with insights into marketing say that the team, the Angelina Jordan team with Michael in lead, is doing everything by the book. They're doing everything correctly, going slow, building the audience, building the fans and everything. I'm guessing there is a lot of ways that you can look upon how to do this.
The basis of all marketing is the product. I can bring you 1,000 people to try your cake. If your cake is amazing, 900 of them will come back and they'll tell their friends, and then they're hooked on it. And that's how you basically build the whole thing. It's like you said, it's the top of the top, the crème de la crème. Is that correct? I hope so. That's where it is. So it's just about, listen, people, just lend us your ears and let the rest just happen organically from then.
I have a question for you, Booty. You think on your feet. Could you give us a monologue of the evolution of your overview of how you first came to Angelina, and then what your first and second reaction was, and to where you are now?
I could, and I'll try. I'll do my best, but I have a horrible memory. So if you ask me what are the last 5 reactions you did, I don't remember. I'll probably say Gloomy Sunday, and that was like 3 months ago.
You don't have to give us specific songs. Just give us like an impressionistic overview of what your initial reaction was, and then how it evolved over the last few months.
The most interesting thing for me, anyway, is how your feelings are when you're listening to her, and how they have evolved.
When you start listening, you're absorbing the artist, and then at some point, I'm just trying to remember which song it was. There was this one thing where I disconnected. I forgot I was recording. I forgot I was doing. I just literally disconnected. I remembered.
It was Suspicious Minds.
It was. It was probably. Yeah, it was Suspicious Minds. I remembered something that I had. It was a traumatic experience that I had not thought of for, I want to say 15, 16 years. Wow. And it was just there, and I just went there, and then I came back. What the heck just happened? Why that memory? Why go there? Why did I lose, I don't want to say lose consciousness, but I just stopped being in the moment for a second, escaped and came back.
Survive. I know it stops by to say hello.
There's such an abundance of unbelievable people out there in this world that do incredible things. But in those incredible people, among them, there are these particular individuals that just have this ability to move you, to shut down the world around you, to captivate you and just take you somewhere where, I don't know, you think of something that you haven't thought of in a while, or or you get to be in a moment on your own and your mind just disconnects from the reality that surrounds you. And
very few artists have had that effect. I've done probably like 400 videos at this point, and I recall this has happened to me maybe twice.
Wow.
Not more. Angelina was once, and I think El Diva was the other time that happened. And it's just a surreal thing. And then before Suspicious Minds, a few videos in, one thing came to mind where I'm like, the artists I react to are me appreciating given talent and me appreciating artists that a lot of people appreciate. Like, when I started the channel, I started doing Nightwish reactions because Joe, my roommate at the time, one of my best friends, he wanted me to listen to Nightwish. And I was like, no, I'm never going to listen to that. What is folk metal? What is all this stuff? I don't listen to. And then we just started. It was COVID, and we did it. And it's a huge Nightwish community. Because of the community, I fell in love with Nightwish, and I just kept doing more and more reaction views. But the community's there. I'm talking millions of people. I have no value by doing these reactions except people's entertainment. But when I look at Angelina, out of all the artists I react to, I see that I have value, not just to the people that want to watch the reaction videos that know her, but it's the first time that I can actually play an active role in introducing her to a large amount of people. So you feel in a way responsible, like you want to be part of that thing and see what, if we do this today, it becomes yours, and you gift it. You try and do whatever you can to help grow it and get it where it can be, just because you see what it did to you. So let's go get this thing. Let's make sure other people feel what I felt or try and experience it. And you hope for the best, I guess.
Good answer. I had this gift. Let me share this gift with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think on some level, maybe we all feel that way. Like, well, why do you guys do this?
Yeah, it's basically the same. When I first heard her, it was different for me because I didn't have a channel then. I was just listening to all her stuff just for me, because the first time was an instant connection. And
what was the song?
There was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
And I was feeling low, and it was during the pandemic. I had no work, so I was just laying around and just watching everything that came up on my phone. And all of a sudden, her version of Bohemian Rhapsody came up. And there was this instant connection with something that was so good. And she was so confident that I felt so relaxed listening to her. I just felt that nothing can go wrong when listening to her. That was one of the feelings I got. And then I just went down the rabbit hole and watched almost everything I could from her. And then I got around to somebody else must see the quality in this. And so I asked a few friends that know music. And one of them said, yeah, this is great. And then I discovered reaction videos because I had no idea.
And is this where the two of you met? Is that how you guys met? Or did you guys know each other from before?
Yeah, but Pontus started before me. What happened 3 years ago, my 20-year-old daughter made a couple of YouTube videos goofing around and something very lighthearted. And I said to her, if I were to do a YouTube video, I know what I would do, but I'm too old for this sort of nonsense. And she said, no, Dad, just go for it. Just go for it. So the first 3 or 4 I did with her. She recorded and she edited, but then she went off to university. And so I was high and dry. I had no way of continuing. And I'd seen Pontus's work, and I wrote to Pontus, and I said, can you help me? Can you help me learn how to do this? He said, sure. And he's been like a saint ever since. I would not have my YouTube hobby if it were not for Pontus. He's talked me through it. And even now, I write to him, I said, Pontus, I have an emergency. Can we Zoom in an hour? Booty, to answer your question, let me throw a little bit of musical history at you. In 1969, Johnny Cash gave his guitar to Bob Dylan as a way of saying, here, I bow down to you. And I don't have a guitar. I'm not a musician. I only have my time. And so I am doing the equivalent of what Johnny Cash did with Bob Dylan by devoting my time to Angelina Jordan, because she redefines not just music. She's redefining not just genres. She's redefining emotional integrity. She's redefining healing. and it just expands out in a mind-boggling way. And everyone has their own subjective experience, but it's like this podcast is based on how has she changed your life?
Is that a question?
Do you have an answer?
I'm still finding out. I know every Monday is dedicated to her. That's one way she's changed my life.
Yeah.
I'm still very early in my journey. I've done what? I've done maybe 15 songs? I don't know, 20 songs? There's hundreds out there.
Yeah, I saw your extraordinary reaction to Million Miles, where you got teary-eyed and had to collect yourself for a few moments. And that is the way I feel almost every day when listening to her. And I think that's one of the differences between you as a reactor. You can't listen to Angelina every day because you need to record your...
My process, and in the past year, I only broke my process once. And so my process is this. I used to be a radio presenter. I used to play music all day. Push music. Listen to music all the time because you got to know what you're doing. I don't listen to music at all. Not on Apple Music, not in my car, not on the radio. I'm literally hungry for music the entire week until Sunday comes along. Come Sunday, I listen to 5 songs. My entire appetite must be satiated with 5 songs. So 1, hope to God they're good. Because if they're not, you know what I mean? But 2, you get to experience them. Like when you're really, really hungry and you serve the meal, you can taste better. The flavors pop out more, everything, the salt, the sweet. So that's how I like to experience music now. And it's become like a thing that I love doing. So I get to really appreciate music a lot more than if I had been listening to music all the time. So I love depriving myself of it so that when I listen to it, it really you just enjoy it so much more, honestly. Yeah.
Rudy, what strikes me when I watch you reacting to Angelina Jordan is the accuracy of your reactions. For example, when you were listening to her singing When You're Smiling, you focus on, look, if you're having a bad day, this will instantly change your bad day. And it was
because I was having a bad day and I listened to it and my day got better.
Yeah, I know, but it was a universal comment. It was a comment for everyone. And you did the same thing with I'm Still Holding Out For You. You listen to her doing a certain type of performance and say, oh my God, this is off the charts. Your reactions are so accurate to every single one of the songs. And that's why we wanted you on, because you're an accurate sort of fellow.
I think honestly, it's the music first. And I think I have a way of communicating what I feel and think. I think that's something that I've developed over the past bunch of years. So I think we all feel this. It's just about getting it out there. And we all feel the same thing, more or less, but it's just about passing it along in face or words.
Some people, I say, they don't have any filter between their brain and their mouth. But for you, it's good that you don't have one because your brain is working in a really good way and you don't need a filter.
God forbid I get angry during a reaction. Ramsey will have a field day with me. He'll be like, what is this? What are you sending me? How am I going to edit this?
Getting back to how you are affected by listening to Angelina every day is something that this podcast is all about, of course. And for me, it's, and I think you're in a similar way experiencing this also, Alan, is the way that it in time opens up a new part of you that is more sensitive and more open and more willing to change for the good. Because we can all be locked up in our emotions. And what she's doing with her music is unlocking that department in our brains, in our hearts, that really needs to be open to emotion.
I think that's a very cool thing you said. One thing you said is listen to her every day. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Because some of us don't. I can imagine. I haven't listened to Suspicious Minds since. Sometimes you want to feel things, sometimes you don't. If I give it another listen and then another listen and another listen, it would be nice to see if that results in deeper and deeper thought spirals and revealing more and more things. To me, it's all about the story that I guess puts together her music, the sound, the family, the way they're involved, the teta, and how she's like from day one brought her into music the right way. Like it's all of it together is inspiring in a way that is hopeful. So this is a third culture kid, or actually she's not a third culture kid. Her parents probably were third culture kids growing up in a new country. And it's a very hopeful story for someone that is potentially a third culture kid to be able to build on something and really grow out of it and hone it. And because we see a lot of trauma when we're growing up in my part of the world, it's always bad things going left and center. It's very rare to see an environment that will hold you and believe in you and grow your talents and be like, you don't need to be a marketeer or a doctor or a lawyer or an architect. You want to do this? I see it in you. You have it. Let's get you there. Let's do everything we possibly can to get you there. And I think maybe that's contagious, and maybe that's why we do what we do with her, you know, because of that whole thing. It's a very rare thing to see for someone so young and this journey and having them do what they do. It's a very rare thing to see.
I think that's a very good point, Budi, because I think what you're describing is the purity of her as a role model.
Yeah, yeah.
And people may not use the word purity, but it's untouched and it's innocent and it's consistent. There are no gaps in it.
But that's something that 20 years down the line, when she's in her 30s and kids are coming up and she's telling her story to the world at that point, she's going to inspire so many people. And those people will have proof of, hey, mom, hey, dad, look, it can happen. Believe in me, and see where we can get to. And I think that's going to be really effective.
Budi, I have a very unusual suggestion for you. When you listen to Suspicious Minds a second time and third time, record it.
Yeah.
Because I have listened to her songs, each song 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, and I still react as if it's the first time. Whether it's from tears or emotion or I'm hearing something musically. What she does musically, and I say this as a layperson, is just so rich that I don't get tired of it. And let's see if you have that experience for you to record that.
I'm terrified of going back there, but I'll do it. Oh, no. That sounds like an awesome idea. So
Yeah, because, and then you can compare it. Maybe you can like edit it with the first time you listen and you can go back and forth.
Is there any other questions that you have on your mind now that we're...
Is Juliet also a singer?
I don't think so.
No, she hangs out with her sister and she goes along on her coattails, but she doesn't feel left out. They're really close. And Juliet has benefited from how the family understand raising children.
Who said that? I read this as a comment. Like, there's something in the water in Norway where it's like there's this insane amount of talent coming out that is unbelievable. Really, if you look at the artist that will melt your brain right now, it's Angelina. There's Aurora. There's something there, dude, that is just, I don't know. They teach them right.
It's a pure and innocent life, and the economy is very good there. I have a Norwegian friend, and he said everyone in Norway is not quite a millionaire, but like a quarter of a millionaire because of what the economy is like. And also, they don't have a population problem. They have a massive landmass with maybe 4 or 5 million people. And life there is relatively untouched compared to almost everywhere else.
That's something to be envious of. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. We're doing a good advert for the Norwegian Tourist Board.
Hire us, guys. Hire us. We'll do your ad campaigns for you. There's something in the water in Norway.
So how do you see your relation with Angelina's music evolving? Do you think you will go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, or do you think you'll start having visions, spiritual visions, when you listen to her?
I don't know if I'll commit to spiritual visions. I will tell you one thing. I'm so excited to follow an artist from the very beginning and hopefully throughout their entire career, because we usually don't get to see that. You usually get to see, oh, here's the artist. So this is definitely something where it's like your whole life, hopefully she does this all that time, and you get to see all the different ways that she presents herself and evolves her music. So that's one thing that's there. I always used to have this thought when listening to her music, because sometimes I bounce between 16-year-old Angelina, 10-year-old Angelina, going back and forth. And when you do that, you get to see the evolution, but not how it's evolved. It gives you like a fast forward vision of where she was, where she is. And what you realize is that it's still the same person. So she's not necessarily been tainted by the industry. And I always think about this. It's a topic I've talked to you guys about, and I've talked before in my videos. How does she evolve from here? Does she pull a Miley Cyrus? I don't know what she might do to actually blow up on the world stage, or does she pull a Lara Fabian, right? Because you can go the Celine Dion route, you can go the Lara Fabian route, and both of them are incredible, masterful musicians in their own right, but one of them occupies a specific space while the other one occupies a completely different space. Lara Fabian isn't doing Vegas shows. Celine Dion is, but Lara Fabian is adored to a degree that's unfathomable. Like, she's this incredible human being, and she's unbelievable, and she's respected for it.
I don't know where to find you. I don't know how to reach you.
What's she look like at 40, 50, and 60? How does that happen? So those are things that I guess we don't know the answers to, but we're in it, you know? We're sucked in, and we'll see where it ends up.
We'll have to have you back as a guest in 20 years' time, Booty, to continue this conversation.
I would absolutely love it. Only if, and we'll talk to the Norwegians, we'll have them sponsor us.
But before we let you go, I'm curious about if you were to meet Angelina and pop one question. Do you have anything that you would raise there?
Oh my God.
Let me tell you my question. You can think about your...
Okay.
Because I don't know if you know this, but she was in an interview situation when she was 12, and she was talking about what happens when she goes on stage, that she goes into her own world. And everything around her just disappears, and she's in this place with light and love. And I would ask her if she still goes to that place, and if that place is still the same.
That's a very good question. Because she grew up wanting this. Does she still want this? We've all had this in our lives, or at least I have, where I've gotten to a place and I'm like, how did I get here? And what if I don't want to be here anymore? And you want to make like a shift, and by making a specific shift, you disappoint a lot of people.
Yeah.
Family, friends, fans, the whole thing. So that's a very good question. And I think my question would be, do you still want to do this? I guess.
She definitely wants to do this. She wants to sing for the world, and this is in her DNA. This is who she is and how she is, and that's not negotiable. That is fixed in concrete.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Booty. If you were part of her team and you were plotting the way forward for her for the next year or two, what direction might be in your radar?
Okay, so this is literally what they need to do. They need to talk to TikTok. That's the first thing to do. And TikTok have a program where you can talk to them. You can be like, here's the song. Here's what we need done. They have a separate application called Reach. And Reach is an application where influencers are actually on it. And they're requested to create TikToks using a specific sound. And they'll give you demo TikTok. So build something that's a little TikTok-ish, whatever it is. Maintaining the brand. Making sure you're not doing something completely off of what Angelina wants. That's the first thing I do, and I put a lot of money behind it. Make sure that as many people as possible are using Angelina songs in their TikToks and their Instagram reels. That's one thing. Second thing is, every single possible radio show I can get on, TV show I can get on, podcast I can get on, have 5, 3, 2 bullet points. These are core specific things that you want to talk about every single time to get the message across in the simplest way possible. You know, even if it's rehearsed, you got to have those down there. Do those interviews. Rinse and repeat. You'll get better every single time. Before you know it, your Audible brand is now transpiring in the world. Do that for a solid year while you do your gigs, while you do your touring. It's a lot of work, but those are like the 3 things. Play a lot of gigs, do the TikTok thing, do as many interviews as you can, but make sure your messaging in those interviews is Same thing. Rinse and repeat. You're maximizing your chances of an interview clip going viral. You're maximizing your chances of a TikTok going viral, because it just takes one. You have these influencers that are literally born overnight. They'll have 500 followers on TikTok. All of a sudden they make one video, 100 million views. People are sharing it all over the world. Now you have 700,000 followers. 6 months later, it changes their lives. So you just got to keep creating content, being part of content to get that little 1 second chance that just blows everything up.
Budi, that was such a great answer that we cannot possibly ask you any more questions. Anything else we talk about will be anticlimactic after that. That was such a great answer, Budi.
Yeah, thanks.
I really appreciate you guys. I really do. Like, I was so anxious all day, just waiting to get this and have this, and I hope it goes well, and I hope I'm good for you guys. So I really had a good time.
We had every confidence that you would arrive being who you are, and we were not disappointed. We did not expect you to be tongue-tied and stuttered when you arrived here.
Thank God for that.
Thank you, Budi. I can think of many different reasons why we could and should be having you back.
Yeah.
But not before we publish this one, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to, guys. Anytime, last second guest drops out, call me. I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're on.
I appreciate you so much. Have a beautiful night. Thank you.
Thank you.